right, Healing Overflow with Dr. Toy. Welcome back, family. How y'all been? Y'all all right? That's good. That's good. Well, we're back to you again with another Healing Overflow with Dr. Toy. Before I introduce my guest, let me just let you know that y'all have been showing me so much love, and I so appreciate it. Thank you for the emails. Thank you for the inboxes and the comments. Thank you for watching and supporting. And I hope that this healing is overflowing all over you and you are just drenched with healing. That is my prayer. That is my wish. That is my hope for you. If you have topics, you're like, oh man, I hope Dr. Toy gets to that. I need her to talk about this. Email me at drtoyjones@gmail.com. Don't forget to like our Healing Flow with Dr. Toy Facebook page, because it'll notify you when the new videos come out, and you can watch all the old ones too. They're just as good. It's like the leftovers, tastes just as good the next day. So go ahead and partake in that. Also follow me on Twitter and then like our page, our WXCN Power Radio. That's how it sounds on the radio. So I got to say it just like that. All right, y'all, listen. So excited about our guest. I'm just so happy and proud that she got the time to come and talk to us. Her story is so impactful and it's so inspirational. I'm going to give her this introduction that will not even talk about how dope she is, but I'm trying to like skate on the surface about how dope she is. All right, listen, this next guest is a survivor, a believer. She's strong, loving, inspiring, impactful. Her name is Qiana Buckner, or everybody calls her Lady Q. She's a living testimony of God's mercy and grace, having endured many hardships as a child, from growing up in the foster care system, experiencing homelessness, severe neglect, suffering from physical, verbal, mental, and emotional abuse. She has used her voice and her hand, her writing pen, and her story on national platforms to empower others with her message of transformation and healing. She's a published author, y'all, 3 books, and I won 3. The titles are My Journey, My Peace, which tells of her life's journey, Metamorphosis, which is her letter to transformation, and her newest release is Of Course I'm Cute. I love the title. Of Course I'm Cute, Affirmations and Declarations to Polish Your Inner Diamond, which is a book of affirmations for women and young girls to empower themselves daily as it pertains to being formed under pressure. She's a founder and CEO of A Diamond in the Rough Productions and Lady Q Network. She is Lady Q. She is empowered to inspire, and she's here to speak healing and life to us today. Y'all know what to do when our guests come in. You greet them with an applause, virtually or even out loud, sitting there in your living room, at your kitchen table, wherever you may be. Put your hands together for Lady Q.
Hey.
It's just me. I'm always over dramatic.
That's good.
But
especially when you're celebrating, that's good.
That's right. You're worth celebrating, Queen.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here among royalty. Thank you.
Listen. We're jumping right in because I don't want to waste a single moment of your time to be able to tell your story of transformation and inspiration. I know it's really going to help our audience. And so I want to dive right in to just a few things I've heard you say when speaking to others. You said something, and I got to get it right, but we are dying inside, but we look dynamic on the outside. Right. I need you to talk about that with our viewers. What do you mean by that?
So that is actually one of my favorite quotes. I'm a woman who loves and lives by quotes. And Tupac is one of my favorite artists. And he has a song.
Tupac.
He has a song out for women called Keep Your Head Up. Mm-hmm. And in this particular song, he said, you're dying on the inside, but outside you're looking fearless, right? And so that's what we are expected to do. We're expected as women to show up. period.
Mm.
We're expected to show up with our best foot forward, and a lot of times we as women, because we're so used to we have to keep going like the Energizer Bunny. We have to make sure our kids are okay. We have to make sure our families are okay. We have to do what we do on our jobs. We have to do what we do in the community. I mean, I do everything, whether it's community efforts, whether it's my children, whether it's my job, whether it's other people, whether it's other women, whether it's other people's children, doing all of these things. And people always say, wow, she's a powerful woman, and wow, women's empowerment, and all of these things. But you can't pour from an empty cup. You cannot pour from an empty cup. And there have been times where I've been running on fumes. And that's what Tupac meant. We're dying on the inside, but we're looking fearless on the inside. It's like, you can't tell someone ice cream is sweet unless you've tasted it. I say that all the time. And, it's like they tell you when you're on an airplane, in order for you to help the person next to you, the weaker person, the stronger one has to put on their mask first. And sometimes we don't allow ourselves to do that. And that's where healing has to take place.
Woo!
Healing has to take place. We have to take care of ourselves. We have to heal from the inside. Healing is not a physical thing on the outside, but it's related to wounds. And that's so funny, because when you think about healing, you think about wounds, you think about being cut, you think about being bruised, and that wound has to heal. And it's healing from the inside out. And that's what happens. We're dying on the inside, but outside we look fearless. And we have to make sure and that's what I'm here for. That's my testimony. We can no longer die within. We have to be strong. We have to embrace every single moment in order to heal, so that we no longer are dying from the inside. We're healing from the inside, but still looking fearless on the outside.
Wow. Listen, y'all, get out your shovels in your buckets, because those nuggets have been dropped, and they will continue to drop all over the floor. You better clean up, y'all.
Absolutely.
Lady Q, you said so much. I'm going to touch on just a little bit of what you said, because it was so cool, and I love it. It's so helpful. There's something that you said. When you look at you, and look at, you are a book author, not one, three. You look at your website, you look at your Facebook page, you're beautiful, you're successful, you're here, you're there, you inspire people. No one would be able to look at you and say, oh, she done been through this, and that. Right. Now, I've been privy to hearing some of your stories, but I know the viewers, they don't know everything you've been through. Like you're glittering from the inside out, but how did you get there? Like, what did you go through? First of all, you talked about those bruises and scars that you're healing from. People wouldn't know what you've gone through. Can you tell us a little bit about what you've gone through?
I remember a man, I don't know who he is, but certain things stick with me. They say you often forget what people say, but you will never forget how they make you feel. That's Maya Angelou. And so certain things that people say to me make me feel. And there was a gentleman, he said to me, he said, oh my gosh, you grew up a pampered bougie princess. I was like, I wish, like, really? That's what I thought my calling was too. Like, I was supposed to be the Queen of England's granddaughter, right?
Listen.
And so, I said, and I'm like, God, why didn't you just put me in, my royal palace? And why did I have to go through so much? But in order for me to be who I am, in order for me to be Lady Q, in order for me to be that diamond, I had to go through what I had to go through. And so as a young girl at the age of 6, it started. My mom's lover abused my siblings and I. So we went through a severe child abuse. We went through neglect. We went through hunger. We were beaten severely. I would go to school with black and blue marks on my body. As a little girl in the 3rd grade, I had black and blue marks on my body from belt buckles and from sticks and things of that nature. And I have 3 siblings, and the 4th sibling, well, I'm the 3rd child. My brother, he was my older brother. His name was Wesley. He died at the age of 10. He had sickle cell anemia. And we initially thought, when we were younger, we thought, it was normal for him to get sick. Children's Hospital was his second home. He was severely ill with the disease. He was so severely ill with the disease that we were dealing with Make-A-Wish Foundation. And so, we did fun stuff. We got to meet some Pittsburgh Steelers, and he got to meet Lou Ferrigno. And so he did some great things, but literally, that was on the outside. But on when we got home in the home front, we weren't eating. We had to stay in our rooms. We slept on the floor. We kept each other warm. There was a vent that connected our rooms, and so the four of us snuggled up against these vents, and we would talk to each other through these vents. And so my brother ended up dying at the age of 10. And it was one of the worst things that I had to process. It's still today, at the age of 44, one of the worst things that I felt like I had to process as a young child. We were the same age for a month. We were born in the same year. We were both born in 1977. So we did everything together. So it wasn't that, he was just my brother, but he was the closest thing to me. And years later, I would find out it wasn't just his sickle cell that killed him, it was the abuse that killed him as well. And so I spoke with his doctor, I have the medical records. And so things of that, it was that severe, and so with him passing away, that entered our tenure into the foster care system. My siblings and my older sister, she's 5 years older than me. So she moved to New Jersey. My younger brother and I, we tried our best to stay together. And so we ended up with foster care families. So the foster care system is really different. They look for a relative to be your foster parent first. And so we had a few relatives. We bounced around the houses. And, I was in the foster care system from the age of 9 up until the age of 18. And what happens when you are in the foster care system, once you turn 18, you basically age out. And once you age out, what do? Now you're homeless, because it's like, okay, you're 18. We got you until you're 18. So I ended up, being homeless for a good bit of time. After a little bit of time after I aged out of the foster care system, I ended up going to college to Penn State University. Sort of different, things. I was sleeping on friends' couches and stuff like that. So just, going through the abuse, the neglect, the hunger, physical abuse, the mental abuse, the emotional abuse, being homeless, after being homeless, and in between all of that, while going through all of that, at the age of 14, I figure that's when I found God, actually. That's when I found Christ. And I remember, because all I wanted was, love. I just wanted someone to take care of me. I just wanted, oftentimes I just wanted a hug. And so I would say, oh, my cousins and we had this mime group, and we had found this church. And I joined this church at the age of 14. And I was there from the age of 14 through the age of 26. So not only was I going through the physical abuse, the foster care, the homelessness, the mental abuse, the emotional abuse, the verbal abuse. When I joined this church, I was so excited because I said, wow, this is the place. This is where I'm going to get the love that I need. This is where I'm going to be okay. And it turned out to be the total opposite. Oh. That was the place that it was just as bad as the abuse at home.
Oh, no.
It was just as bad. But I went through it by myself. I went through it with the help of God. I made it through. And I remember writing in my book, My Journey, My Peace. I wrote about that part of my life. And the title of that chapter is A Place Called There. It's called A Place Called There because, when God told Elijah, he said, get up and go to a place called there. Mm-hmm. And he said, there he's going to cause the ravens to feed him. It was one of the worst places emotionally for Elijah. He was homeless then. He was depressed. He wanted to kill himself. He wanted to die. He was hungry. He had just performed one of the greatest miracles in the Bible from a prophet. And yet he was dying, wow. But God told him, he said, go to a place called there. And there he was going to cause the ravens. So God fed him in that place. God took care of him in that place, even though it was one of the worst places of his life. And so that's how I can relate to my place called there. It was one of the worst places in my life. Never would I imagine being in a spiritual, being in a church, being around, leadership, that I would have to go through that. But to God be the glory, because I'm telling you, I'm grateful for my story. I really, really am. The homelessness, the verbal abuse, all of those things. I'm excited to tell my story. I'm excited to, it's never easy going through, but it's worth it if somebody else can be transformed, if somebody else can be healed, if somebody else can say, if she can do it, I can do it. My
Wow.
success is other success. Seeing other people succeed. That's my success.
Wow. And that really truly radiates. Anytime I hear you speak, anytime I see you and say hello,
Mm,
it's like coming through your pores. There's
mm,
no way that anyone would know that you went through such neglect and abuse and then go into a church thinking you're going to get some reprieve and hope and didn't find that. I don't understand how, and probably the viewers don't understand how that didn't sour you against the church. You still talk about God. Like you
mhm.
have this relationship with God, not with these people
Correct.
that continue to abuse you. Like that's super powerful, but it
Mm.
shows like, mentally and emotionally that healing's there.
It is. It is. And I think because, like he told Elijah, he said, go to a place called there. And it was there. It wasn't a great place. Elijah wanted to kill himself, like I said. He was still down. It was one of the worst places, in his ministry, but God still fed him. And I think for me, it was more so like I learned about God. I knew I know what the Holy Spirit feels like. I was growing, leaps and bounds. I was at home, in my word 24/7. I had just come out of a homeless shelter. And when you come out of the homeless shelter, I was always excelling in the programs. And so they were like, wow, the homeless shelters that I lived in, I ended up working for. I came in and worked for the homeless shelters that I lived in. I,
Wow.
I worked for Family Links as a counselor. I worked for Wells Tales as a counselor. All in both programs. I was in the Yes program when I was a young girl. And then when I aged out, I went to the shelter on Fifth Avenue downtown, and I ended up working for that same shelter that I lived in for over a year. And even in the shelter, and it's just like really, I don't want to cry on the show, but even in the shelter, I would be sitting on the wooden crates that they would have us put our clothes in, and I was studying my word.
Ooh.
I was chasing after God. It didn't matter what people did to me because I was used to, people attacking me physically. I was used to people saying, "Oh, she's never going to amount to anything." I was used to people saying, statistically, they say I'm supposed to be an abuser. Statistically, I should not be here. I remember when we lived in Homewood with my mom, our house was shot up 18 times in 1 month. In 1 month, I've had a job since I was 14 working. I worked at KFC. I was in high school. I went to five high schools, and I was in high school, and I would walk from Homewood, Formosa Way, and anybody that's from Pittsburgh know these streets, from Formosa Way all the way to the KFC in Wilkinsburg after school. Well, when I would come home, I would work my shift. I would go to school, get out of school about 2:20, be at work 3 to 11. Work.
Wow.
That's all I did. Work, and I stayed at church. My church was all the way. I want to say where it was, but I might give some people away. But it was far away. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I'm grateful for God, the presence of God, because it was only God that kept me. It wasn't the people that kept me. It wasn't the church. It
Yeah.
was God that kept me. He taught me who he was through his word, through my experiences in worship, through my, through the tears, through all of that. That's how diamonds are formed.
It doesn't make sense, Lady Q. It's like
Yeah.
you should be in amongst the incarcerated population. You
Yes.
should
Yes.
be completely dependent on drug and alcohol use. You should
Yes.
be in a fetal position, curled up somewhere. Like
Girl.
it doesn't make sense that you are on here talking to us, inspiring us, talking about keep your head up.
Keep
Talk
your
about
head.
this whole diamond because you
Woo.
went through so much pressure, and it's like you should not be telling this story. Like I
Yeah.
know statistics, and you should be one. And why aren't you? And how did you become this diamond? That's it. That's all
I
I can.
think so too. That's what the world says. The world says I should be a statistic, but because of what God has done in my life, I'm always rooting for the underdog. I'm always for defeating the odds. I'm always for going against the grain. So I had just came out of the homeless shelter, and I had all I had in my house was a mattress and a box spring. I had a 1 bedroom apartment, And so and I just said, okay, well, what could I do with my time? God, I'll learn about you more. I'll study more. I'll just build my relationship with you. And so I remember laying across my bed one day, and I was studying the word, and the Lord said to me, he said, a diamond in the rough. And I was like, no, it was like in 1998, maybe. And I was like, a diamond in the rough. Okay. Okay. Now I had just 3 years fresh out of high school. And I'm like, a diamond in the rough. I heard the phrase, but I didn't really understand it. And I'm very analytical. Mm-hmm. So when I study, I look up everything. So I began to look up what a diamond in the rough was. And the definition for a diamond in the rough is a beautiful and precious gem or stone lacking polish and refinement. So I said, okay, all right, cool. Diamond in the rough. I wrote that down. And I said, all right, this is going to be the title of my first book. God said, no, it's bigger than that. I was like, oh, okay. I said, this is going to be my first sermon. He said, no, it's bigger than. He just kept saying, no, it's bigger than that. I was like, okay. So I began to pray and I said, well, God, what is it? What is it? And then he gave me this vision. It was this vision of this huge stage. The stage was larger than life. And it had this royal blue curtain. And behind the curtain was a friend of mine. Her name is Dana. And then it was TD Jakes. And I was like, because he was really, really big with Women That Were Loose back then.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, okay, cool. Maybe it's for me to do events. Maybe it's a conference. And God said again, he said, no, it's bigger than that. I'm like, okay, so everything I told him it was, he kept telling me it's bigger than that. So in 2009, I had my first annual women's conference, A Diamond in the Rough. And I still had not grasped the concept of what this diamond was that God was talking about. So later on in life, fast forward, I get married, I have children. Now I'm going through what is called divorce. I'm starting the process of going through my separation. And I knew that I remember as a little girl, I knew I was going to write a book. I didn't know what I was going to write about. I didn't know how it was going to come out, but I knew I was going to write a book. So I said, I didn't know anything. And I don't write just to write. I don't talk just to talk. It has to have substance. And so I began to write when I was going through my divorce. I journal everything. And so as I'm writing, the Lord spoke to me, and I'm writing the chapter called Diamond in the Rough. There's a chapter of my journey, my piece called A Diamond in the Rough. And the Lord said, you are the diamond in your story.
Wow.
I said, okay. And so anybody that I know would be so excited. Like, oh my God, a diamond? God,
diamond.
Like, what? Bling, bling. You know, I'm very analytical. I got to know what, when, why, where, how, who. And I said to God, I said, a diamond? Like, really, God? Like, you're going to call me a diamond? Do you know what they have to go through? Ooh. Like, do you know what they have to go through? Do you know? I kept saying, do you know what they have to go through? Ooh. Diamonds are formed under pressure. Wow. And a lot of times people don't realize how much pressure a diamond has to go through. And when God began to tell me that, I've always loved diamonds. Everything about me is a diamond in the rough, a diamond, 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 diamond. The diamond effect, that's all me. Yeah. And so I said, okay. And I knew that diamonds, you know, they were cold, they were burned, whatever. But then I began to study a little bit more into diamonds. And what was so fascinating to me is only God can create a diamond.
Right.
You know, there's a quote that says, only God can turn coal into diamonds, sand into pearls. And I'm like, yo, that is deep. But I said, really, nobody knows where these beauties come from. Yeah. Diamonds are formed in the lowest parts of the earth, so low that an archaeologist can't get down there. They can't. They have to wait, and it's a special dirt. And I look at it's a special type of dirt. The way that it comes up into from the bottom parts of the earth, when it's erupted at the volcano, when it's erupted at the bottom, so it starts in the fire. You know, when it's erupted. Yes. When it's erupted, the dirt is formed and it's coming to the top of the surface. And even sometimes then, the dirt cannot stand the pressure. So it just turns into a liquid and goes back down. Woo! But the dirt that makes it rises to the occasion. It comes to the top. And then when it's made, they're picking out the dirt. They're like, okay. And it's this special process. And they're like, okay, they know. That's why there are sites for people that they're the people that look for the diamonds and stuff. It's a special type of dirt that's formed. And so that it's formed, and then you get, like you said, there's the coal that happens. It's turned into a lump of coal. The coal is burned. Once it's burned, it's chiseled. So this is all the making and the process of a diamond. There's the dirt, there's the coal, there's the burning, there's the chiseling, there's the pressing, there's all of that stuff that it has to go through. And then once you go through all of these things, now you have this beautiful, beautiful piece of this rock, right? Because it's a diamond, but it's beautiful. But a diamond is still not given its value and its worth until it's cut.
Oh,
so you can say, "Oh my God, I'm a diamond." But even after you're a diamond, you still have to be cut. Woo! To know your worth and your value. People aren't just going to buy a square and say, "Oh, this is my diamond."
Yeah,
no, I want a princess cut. I want a marquee cut. I want an oval cut. It has to be cut. And even after it's cut, they examine it to say, it's flawed.
Wow.
Or, oh, no, that's not flawed. There's so much that happens to the process, to the processing of a diamond, and even after it's formed. And so when you're rocking your ring, you don't realize what that diamond had to go through. Like, man, I used to be a lump of coal. This is a nice lump of coal. You know what I mean? But no. And so when God called me his diamond, I was in my dining room writing that, and he said, "You are the diamond in your story." And I'm like, "No, God, I don't want to be no diamond." But I'm honored now. Once you go through the emotional, like, I don't want to do this, I'm honored that God would consider me a diamond. I would never consider myself a diamond. I really wouldn't. But and now I understand the things that I had to go through to get here, and what I'm going through now to get to the next level that God is taking me to. And my life is formed under pressure. My testimony, my purpose, my whole entire being was because I'm being formed under pressure.
Wow. Oh, you done blew my mind about 5 different times. That the whole diamond process, y'all, were y'all like I was? Listen, these are pure reactions. I am not acting like this. That process of a diamond has been broken down so well. I've never heard it broken down like that. And that was just spectacular because it describes a lot of our lives and the things that we have to go through perfectly, down to it has to be special dirt. Like, that part really blew me away. Special dirt and pressure. And then when it's this beautiful stone, it still has to be cut. And then it you got a flaw in there. Like, that was so
people still judge you. Yep. People still judge you.
That was so impactful, Lady Q. I know that you were speaking to someone out there in particular. I felt it. I know you're there. I know you're watching. I know whoever you share this with, it's going to touch them and just go boom, right in the chest, because it's you. It's what you've been through. And there is such inspiration in what Qiana is speaking today. I'm going to give you the last words. Listen, you got it.
I got it.
To the viewers. And some folks watching are still in the special dirt. Some have liquefied and went down into the ground again. Some are under pressure and they're like, I don't see me ever becoming a diamond. Like, talk to me. I'm in the healing waiting room. I am not on the other side. I'm not glittering and making nobody happy right now on their finger. Speak to them.
I would encourage you, and I always, when I talk to the women, when I talk to the young girls, I just say, "Hey, my fellow diamonds," because we're all, like you said, we're all diamonds and we're all in different parts of our process. But my encouragement would be to embrace the process. Embrace every single part of the process, the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent. Embrace every single moment, because every single part of your process defines you. It defines who you are. Don't matter what anyone else thinks or anyone else says. You are your greatest testimony. You need you to survive. You are your biggest competition. And so I would just encourage others to embrace the process. One thing I learned about being a diamond only has one job. Only has one job, and that job is to shine. Yeah. A diamond doesn't do anything else but shine. But what it has to go through to get that shine. Don't die in the process. Stay in the press. Don't die. Embrace every moment. God is with you. God is for you. Matter of fact, He's more than the world against you. Diamonds are formed under pressure. So when it feels like, and I've been there, when it feels like you can't go on, when it feels like you want to give up, when it feels like you're at the lowest of the lows, there's still a ways to go. There's still a peak at the mountain. There's still beauty for ashes. So don't ever give up. Embrace the process. It's not easy, but it's definitely worth it. And remember, a diamond's only job is to shine. Leave the rest up to God.
Ooh. Listen, thank you so much. That
You're so
that
welcome.
really, I know it inspired you, viewers. Healing Overflow with Dr. Toy family. Let me hear from you. If that really touched you, that really helped you to heal, get you back on your healing journey,
Yeah.
just hit me up. Um, you can get in touch with Lady Q. You can grab one of her books. All of them are found on Amazon. Keep
Mhm.
reading, keep pouring into yourself. Give yourself
Yes.
permission to choose healing every day, is something that I heard Lady Q say.
Mhm.
Do that. Do that. Continue to heal, y'all. Again, hit me up at drtoyjones@gmail.com. Don't forget to like our Facebook page at Healing Overflow with Dr. Toy. Email me, like our WXCN Power Radio page. Get in touch with Lady Q at
Yes.
her Instagram. Go
Yes.
on Amazon, cop them books, and keep on healing so that your healing may overflow onto others. Be blessed. I love y'all. Keep on healing. See you next